What if one of the oldest foods in human history could support your gut health better than many modern probiotic products? Most people spend money on probiotic capsules promising digestive miracles. But researchers have increasingly begun looking at something much older, traditionally fermented foods. And among the most interesting, aged cheeses and fermented goat milk products. These foods have been slowly fermenting for months, sometimes years, creating complex microbial ecosystems that scientists are still trying to fully understand. Today, we're breaking down the science behind aged cheese and goat milk probiotics, why some people tolerate them differently from standard dairy, and how fermented foods may support gut health as part of a balanced diet. Welcome to the channel. Walk into a supermarket and you'll usually see two very different types of dairy products. On one side, heavily processed cheese slices designed mainly for convenience and shelf life. On the other, naturally fermented cheeses that have been aged for months under carefully controlled conditions. That aging process matters. During fermentation, microbes are exposed to salt, pressure, changing acidity, and time. Only certain resilient strains survive those conditions. Researchers believe some of these strains may also tolerate digestive conditions better than strains used in certain commercial probiotic products. A 2024 study published in Nutrients explored how naturally aged cheeses can contain acid-resistant microbial strains capable of surviving harsh digestive environments. While research is still evolving, scientists are increasingly interested in how fermented foods interact with the gut microbiome. And this idea isn't new. Many traditional cultures known for longevity have consumed fermented dairy foods for generations, from aged pecorino in Sardinia to fermented sheep and goat dairy products across the Mediterranean. Modern nutrition science is now investigating why these foods became such long-standing staples. Now let's talk specifically about goat milk, because this is where things become especially interesting. Goat milk contains smaller fat globules compared to standard cow milk. That structural difference may contribute to easier digestion for some individuals. Its protein composition is also different. Many goat milk products contain predominantly A2 beta-casein, while much commercial cow milk contains a mix including A1 beta-casein. Some researchers suggest that certain people may tolerate A2 dairy products more comfortably, although responses vary from person to person. Why does this matter? Because digestive comfort and gut environment may influence how beneficial bacteria interact with the microbiome. Researchers are continuing to study how fermented foods and dairy proteins affect gut health and inflammation markers. Now let's get practical. Not all aged cheeses are the same when it comes to fermentation and live cultures. Blue cheeses like Roquefort contain unique fungal cultures involved in the fermentation process. Scientists are studying some of the compounds these cultures produce for their potential biological activity. Aged Gouda, especially varieties aged over 18 months, develops visible tyrosine crystals as proteins break down over time. Those crystals are often considered a sign of long aging and complex maturation. And traditionally produced cheddar cheeses may retain greater microbial diversity depending on how they are made and aged. One small detail many people overlook: temperature. Allowing aged cheese to sit at room temperature for around 20 minutes before eating improves flavor and texture, and may help reactivate some microbial activity after refrigeration. Pairing fermented foods with fiber-rich foods like walnuts or fruit can also help support overall gut-friendly eating patterns. But the research around fermented dairy extends beyond digestion. Aged cheeses are one of the better-known dietary sources of vitamin K2, a nutrient involved in bone and cardiovascular health. Researchers have also been studying the gut-brain axis, the communication network between the digestive system and the nervous system. Some probiotic strains found in fermented dairy products are being investigated for their potential relationship with stress response and mood regulation. And during fermentation, dairy proteins naturally break down into smaller compounds called bioactive peptides, which scientists continue to study for possible effects on cardiovascular function. Of course, no single food is a miracle solution, but incorporating traditionally fermented foods into a balanced lifestyle may be one way to diversify the diet, and support overall wellness. So how can you approach this practically? Start simple. Look for naturally aged cheeses with clear ingredient labels and traditional cultures. Try fermented dairy products like goat, kefir in moderate amounts to see how your body responds. And focus on consistency rather than extremes. For centuries, cultures around the world preserved foods through fermentation long before modern supplement industries existed. Today, science is revisiting many of those traditional practices with new tools and research methods. Maybe the most interesting part isn't that these foods are new. It's that they've been here all along. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more evidence-based nutrition and health content every week. And tell me in the comments, what's your favorite aged cheese?